Somewhere out there, an executive is living with a decision so bad it should legally count as self-harm. Let's ruin his day. 1997, a tiny startup called Netflix walks into Blockbuster's office and offers to sell the entire company for $50 million. Blockbuster said no, laughed them out of the building, basically. Blockbuster is now a single store in Oregon that exists as a tourist attraction. Netflix is worth over $200 billion, $50 million. They said no to $50 million. If that doesn't hurt yet, stick around because this list gets significantly more painful. And subscribe now because the next one is somehow worse than this. Kodak invented the first digital camera. In 1975, their own engineer built it, and Kodak's leadership looked at it and said, "Don't tell anyone, this could hurt our film sales," so they buried it. Their own invention, on purpose. Digital photography happened anyway, obviously, just without Kodak leading it. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012. They invented the future and then hid it in a drawer because they were scared of themselves. In 1999, a search engine called Excite had the chance to buy Google for $1 million. $1 million. The founders of Google practically begged them to just take the deal. Excite said no. Google is now worth over $2 trillion. Somebody at that meeting is still explaining this at parties badly. Decca Records auditioned a band in 1962 and rejected them, writing in an internal memo that guitar groups were on their way out. The band was the Beatles. Decca signed a different guitar group instead. You've never heard of them. Nobody has. The Beatles went on to become arguably the biggest band in the history of recorded music. Are you seeing a pattern yet? Because I promise it gets worse. Western Union, in 1876, passed on buying the patent for the telephone. Internally, they called it, quote, an electrical toy with no commercial possibilities. Alexander Graham Bell's little toy turned into a multi-trillion-dollar global industry. Western Union still exists today. As a company, you used to wire money to your cousin. That's the whole empire now. Yahoo had the opportunity to buy Google in 2002. For $1 billion this time, they said no, again, somehow. A second chance and everything. 3 years later, Yahoo tried to buy just a piece of Google for far more money and got rejected right back. Google said no to Yahoo. That sentence alone should be studied in business school twice in the same decade with the same company. Blockbuster again, because apparently once wasn't enough pain for one company. They also passed on a partnership with a small DVD by mail service before it became a streaming giant, doubling down on their late fees model instead. Late fees. They bet the entire company's future on late fees, while the entire industry moved on without them twice. In 1977, a small British TV network was offered exclusive rights to broadcast a new sci-fi movie for practically nothing up front. The executives passed, convinced space movies were a dying fad after a string of recent flops. The movie was Star Wars. It went on to gross over $700 million in its initial run alone. One exec later admitted he'd never even finished watching the screener tape. In 2008, Airbnb's founders were drowning in debt and pitched their idea to 7 different investors. 6 of them said no. One of them didn't even bother replying to the email. The founders resorted to selling novelty cereal boxes just to keep the company alive for a few more months. Airbnb is now worth over $80 billion. One of those investors has publicly admitted the rejection still keeps him up at night. In 2006, MySpace was the biggest social network on the planet. Not close, not competitive. The biggest, period. Executives were offered the chance to acquire a small photo sharing app years later. They passed, convinced their own product already did enough. That app was Instagram. Facebook bought it instead for $1 billion, and it's worth exponentially more today. MySpace is now mostly a punchline and a graveyard of old profile songs nobody can access anymore. In 1968, a young engineer at 3M invented a weak, barely a sticky adhesive by accident while trying to create something completely different. His own colleagues dismissed it internally for years, calling it a failed experiment with no real use. It took over a decade before anyone realized a weak, removable adhesive was perfect for one very specific thing: sticky notes. Post-it notes now generate hundreds of millions of dollars a year, off an invention everyone originally called a failure. In 1954, a record label executive told a young singer he should go back to driving trucks because singing just wasn't going to work out for him. That singer was Elvis Presley. He went on to sell over 500 million records worldwide and became one of the most recognized names in music history. The executive's exact quote is still printed in music history books, presumably as a warning. Here's what actually connects every single one of these disasters. It was never about the money in the room. It was about people so confident in what already worked, they couldn't imagine the world changing underneath them. Confidence isn't the same as vision, and every single company on this list had plenty of one and none of the other. So let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever said no to something that scared you just because it didn't look like what you already knew? Comment which one of these hurt the most to hear. I have a feeling I already know the answer, and if this made your stomach turn even a little, subscribe, because next time it's personal decisions that ruined empires, not just business ones.